Now, what typically happens when somebody decides that they want to stop drinking? They go to society. They ask their friends, they ask their family, they ask their doctor, they ask the people closest to them. And society pretty much responds the same way every single time. You're gonna get told that it's hard, that maybe you've got a disease, you might be an alcoholic, you should try cutting down first, it's dangerous, you should try moderation. You're basically gonna get a bunch of information from people, and none of it really helps. In this video, I want to explain why I just stopped asking society for advice when it came to stopping drinking, and instead built my own paradigm and my own worldview through critical thinking. This video has the potential to completely change the way that you view alcohol. So if I were you, I'd watch this entire video from start to finish. And just quickly, before we get into it, if you do want my personal help stopping drinking without AA, without willpower, without rehabs, then make sure to watch the short video in the description. In that video, I'll be outlining how the Sober Clear program works and how we help business owners and professionals get 100% control. At the end of that video, you'll be able to book a call and we can see if the program is a good fit for you. But for now, let's jump into the video. So it took me about 10 years until I stopped drinking. But it was very early on in my, I don't know what you call it, drinking career, drinking journey, whatever. It was very early on that I actually wanted to stop drinking. Now, I know a lot of you guys that watch this video might have drank for 20, 10, 15, 30 years and not wanted to stop until recently. But for me, it was the opposite. I knew that I had a problem very early on. I would always get smashed. I wouldn't have one or two drinks. I just knew that it was causing issues. And I was looking for a solution in my early 20s. You know, I tried to go to AA in my early 20s. And what basically happened is I asked my mum, I said, "Mum, I really want to stop drinking. What do I do?" And she's like, "Well, I'm an alcoholic. So I go to AA because I'm like you as well. I also had a big drinking problem and I realized that I'm an alcoholic. So I went to AA and I found God and blah, blah, blah." And listen, I'm a very open-minded person. I'm pretty much willing to try most things. And I said, all right, I'll give it a shot. Let's see what happens. And I went to AA and, you know, at first I bought into it. I went along with the program, but I soon realized that it really wasn't for me. I didn't like, you know, the tone of the meetings and the negativity. I'm a pretty positive person. I'm always trying to focus on the future. I didn't want to have to listen to other people come and complain about how much they miss alcohol and all of this stuff. I couldn't see me sticking with that for the next 20 years. But that's what society basically told me that I should do. If I have a drinking problem, if I can't control the problem, then that is the solution available to me. I should go to AA. Sorry, I should rephrase. That's one solution available to me. But if you listen to a lot of people out there, they're going to tell you that that is the solution. That's the only solution. And obviously, I did buy into that at first. These days, I do ignore the idea of being an alcoholic. The reason why is because it's the only drug on the planet where you're labeled as the problem if you can't drink the normal amount of a drug. Cocaine addicts, heroin addicts, they do not get this label for the rest of their life. If a heroin addict stops taking heroin, they're just a normal person. They're an ex-drug addict. They're not still a drug addict that's walking around as a heroin addict forever. They had a problem and now they've moved past it. Yet, when it came to alcohol, I had to give myself this label forever. I don't buy into that anymore. So I basically just stopped listening to it. Luckily, I've kind of done a lot of reflection around this and I've realized that I was never the problem. I removed the drug and I could get on with my life. As soon as I got rid of the drug, things started going well again. You know, I moved to Asia, I started this online business, and I'm not walking around with this label trying to avoid alcohol and avoid certain situations. I kind of just live my life as normal. I still go to bars. My girlfriend sometimes orders drinks when we go out. I still have friends that drink and I don't avoid alcohol in any way. All I've done is change the way that I view alcohol so I can just do what I want anyway. But I really didn't like this idea of being doomed forever and being incurable. Now, obviously, another way that people tried to tell me to stop drinking when I was looking for a solution was to moderate. It was to cut down. Now, here was my issue with moderation and with cutting down. Now, I'm not saying that this is the issue for everybody, but for me, this was the issue. I would say to myself, right, Leon, you're not going to drink for the next 2 weeks. And, you know, I might last a week, I might last 5 days, I might last 3 days, I might even last the whole 2 weeks. But the problem was, during that entire period of moderation or cutting down or taking a break, is basically every single day that passed, I saw alcohol as a better and better and better and better thing. So, you know, by day one, no problem, this is easy, man, I'm going to be fine. Day two, I would love a drink right now. Day 3 is getting a bit worse. Day 4, I'm thinking, F this, I just want to drink. And then maybe I'd continue. Maybe by that point, I'd just be like, screw this, I'm really missing alcohol, I want to drink. And I'd go and I'd drink. And what would typically happen is because I saw it as a better and better thing as every day that passed is, I would go and get smashed. At the end of one of these moderation attempts or cutting down attempts or taking a break or a challenge or whatever, I would get slaughtered. And I'd gone through that cycle many, many times, but this is what society told me. In fact, if I go on Harvard Health, that's exactly what they'll tell me I should do. I should moderate. If I go to the doctor, they're going to say, how much are you drinking? If I tell them I'm drinking 50 units a week, whatever, they're going to say, well, drink the recommended daily allowance. Drink the recommended daily allowance of this highly addictive drug. Whenever the doctor would say something like this, or if I ever heard this advice online or whatever, In one ear, out of the other. It was just useless. Not saying that it's useless for everybody, but for me, that was my experience. So I kind of had to ignore this. I just had to ignore this advice that I could moderate, that I could cut down, and that I could live a good life whilst drinking. And the real problem with this is that I still saw alcohol as a good thing. Even if I successfully moderated my whole life, I'd be using willpower. I'd be fighting through it. I'd be avoiding it. I'd be avoiding certain situations. I'd be leaving places early when I didn't really want to. And I didn't want to live my life like that. So I stopped this idea of moderation and cutting down. Now, the next thing is, like I was saying before, is that most people think that they are the problem if they can't stop drinking. If you're the problem, then maybe it's because you don't have much willpower. Now, I tried to stop drinking with willpower so many times. In fact, all my attempts were really revolving around willpower, revolving around being strong and resisting and fighting the urge and fighting the craving. Now, I like to think of myself as a strong-willed person, so I've done a lot of things that require a lot of willpower, so I naturally think that using willpower is going to be an effective way at helping me stop drinking. And that's what society told me that I should do. Resist it. Go to the pub and resist, you know? It just didn't work, because the problem is like I said before, the more that I resisted, the more that I wanted to drink. So again, it was advice that just didn't work for me. This idea that I was the problem, this idea that I could moderate and cut down, and this idea that I could just grit through it and resist and fight it, basically all of these scenarios for me ended up back at square one. It ended up with me drinking again, and it ended up me with a slippery slope downwards. It's a catastrophe because so many people listen to this advice and so many people fight for years to get control of this, and they listen to this advice again and again and again and again, and it doesn't work. For some people, it does work. For me, and I know tens of thousands, if not millions of other people, the typical mainstream advice does not work. And if we really think back, think about all the mainstream advice that used to be out there, all the mainstream knowledge, or whatever you want to call it. The earth used to be flat. In fact, for some people it still is, but the earth used to be flat. You know, the Aztecs used to chop people's head off and roll it down a hill and think that the sun was going to keep going across the sky. That was common knowledge. That was what you did. It was normal to decapitate your friend for the good of the world, because if not, the sun would stop moving across the sky. And we can even see it in the media, the mainstream media, how it's continually brainwashing people and making the world out to be this really bad, dangerous place, when really it's a pretty good place. And the problem is the collective belief can often be wrong, yet unless you really sit down and think critically about what is going on, you're doomed. And I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but the solution is simple. The solution is critical thinking. It's really analyzing what you've been told and what you've been led to believe, and just saying, is this true? Is this really, really, really going to help me? And I had to do this with alcohol. I had to look at myself and say, am I seriously the problem? Of course I'm not. I had to look at this and say, is willpower really going to help me stop drinking? Of course it's not. And I really had to question why I kept thinking that alcohol was this good thing. Because if we really think what we've been told about alcohol is we've been told that it's a pleasure, that it's a good thing, that it's a joy, a great thing to help us relax, give us confidence, give us courage, all of this stuff. If we buy into this, why would we ever stop drinking? If alcohol really did what it said on the tin, why would we ever stop? Even when everything's gone wrong, we've lost a business, we've lost a relationship, we've been kicked out of our house, our health is at zero, yet still it has all these benefits, right? If we still truly believe that it's got all these benefits, even if our life is in shambles, we're not going to look at the alcohol and say this is what's causing it, because alcohol is a good thing. And critical thinking just changed everything for me. It was really questioning my beliefs, using first principles thinking, building this paradigm, building this worldview. That is what saved my life. You know, I've not drank now for over 2.5 years, and I feel blessed. I feel completely blessed to basically be in the position that I'm in, but not only for that, but for creating Sober Clear, for helping other people go through the same process that I've gone through. I feel absolutely blessed. It's the best thing that I've ever done. My whole life has changed from ignoring what most people tell me about alcohol and really just developing my own conclusion. And like I said, if you want my personal help building that paradigm, click the link in the description, watch that short video, you'll be able to book a call. But honestly, guys, if I were you, I'd really just start doing a lot of study and a lot of introspection and really just questioning your beliefs and questioning the information that comes to you on a regular basis. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you click the video on the screen now, you can learn more about the reframing technique. Thanks a lot.